Okay, part one of this laid the moral groundwork from a Christian point of view, but I have nothing else. I don't believe anything else, so there you have it. Obviously, you can come at it from a different way, but the point still stands. What I want to do, again, is to just be making these informal videos, remind myself in the future, and remind you, and not just remind, but make sure that I and you cannot forget, cannot have a false narrative spun in our heads, because that's what's already starting to happen. By focusing on the evil of the rioting, which some of it is evil, it's unjust, some of the parts of the rioting, but by focusing on that so much, the narrative is being cast and molded in our heads. Our paradigm, our way of seeing the world in these events and remembering them is being shifted to blame the protesters and not the cause of the protests. So, quick timeline. Bunch of stuff happens before George Floyd. I don't know enough, or it's not fresh enough at 3 o'clock in the morning to do it full honor. But Ahmaud Arbery, I don't know if that's how I pronounce his name. I'm sorry. I'm really bad at pronouncing names. He's gunned down in his neighborhood like a dog for no reason. Ex-cop does it, and his big old son in their little pickup truck that can barely anyway. Gunned down in the street like a dog for no reason. It turns out the dad who shot him with a shotgun was an ex-cop, and he knew people in the district attorney's office and prosecutors, and it kind of just gets covered up until a month later it leaks. And that happened on February 23rd. He died. About a month later in March, that video leaked and people were outraged, and it finally led to them doing something, but they covered it up that whole time because he had connections. He was an ex-cop. Then Breonna Taylor dies. I don't know enough about that story yet. I've been tired and focusing on other things. I'm sorry. Shot a bunch completely unjustified during a no-knock warrant. And that just happened May 13th. And then there's other social media stories and news stories about black people being harassed. It just seems like it's getting suddenly worse. Maybe it's because of the pandemic or the media is reporting on it more. Frankly, it seems like it's because of people filming more on Twitter. People now all have a smartphone, and we're seeing this stuff videotaped all the time. It's not just that the media is pushing a bias. Like, these things are starting on Twitter. These videos are coming out on social media, then the news is picking them up. And we're getting a lot more because everyone has phones. And, like, everyone has good phones now. So anyway, that starts, so you've got Ahmaud Arbery on the February 23rd, and that gets covered up. People are outraged. They don't do anything because it's an ex-cop. Then you've got Breonna Taylor, May 13th. Then now you've got George Floyd. Gets a cop's called on him for probably accidentally passing on a $20 counterfeit bill to pay a store. And because he's a big black guy, cops come and there's immediately a problem. And even though the security footage of the restaurant or the shop and the person who's videotaping it shows that he's not resisting arrest, the officer, who he's known for 17 years as a co-worker, they were both security and bouncers at the same bar for 17 years, puts his knee on his neck while 2 other officers sit on his back and crush him, and he suffocates for 9 minutes, and at all that time he's crying out, "Help me, I can't breathe," calling for his dead mother, begging for his life. Over what? A $20 counterfeit bill? You know how easy those are to pick up? I've picked one up before. Like, it's gotten past to me because people don't normally check when you go to a big store where they're not going to be affected by losing $20. They don't check every single freaking $20 bill. Maybe the hundos, but they don't check the 20s. So you can just get a counterfeit $20 bill It's easy. Like I said, I just accidentally got one, and then I took it to a bank and they resolved it. But so he gets it. Cops call him for something that trivial. He ends up dying, begging for his life. For it doesn't make sense. A co-worker lays down for 17 years, and while 3 other cops are watching, and the shop owner with the security footage, and who called the cops on him, immediately realizes, while this is happening, I have to call the police on the police. This is completely unjust. This guy doesn't deserve this. He's not resisting arrest. And the beauty of this, not in the death. My dog is like making a weird noise. The beauty of this is that there was a person filming that instantly. There was a person with that video up instantly. So we knew, and we could very clearly see exactly how evil and unjust this is, and that it was a murder. Still, the police make no arrests. The police do not even talk about charging him. They fire these officers, as they should, but they don't bring them to justice. It's all slow, it's all cop talk. But they need an arrest. There needs to be swifter justice in that. It was completely unjustified. It's ridiculous. And no one's doing anything about it. So by the 26th, Floyd dies on the 25th around 8 p.m. By the next day, way less than 24 hours, there's protests. I've watched from the very beginning as many live streams as possible in Minneapolis, which is where Floyd died and where the protests started. They were peaceful. As the day went on, tensions started increasing. And I don't know who, I don't know fully why, I do not fully care. Some people started looting and burning things. Eventually, by the night of the 28th, the police station in the 3rd precinct in Minneapolis was evacuated. The people bust down the gates, destroyed the cars, and burned down the police station. There's a complicated moral issue there of whether that's justified, and it's really not black and white. For anyone who thinks it is, like, especially if you're, like, more on the right, like, you've really got to read, like, the Founding Fathers, and you've really got to read the philosophers that inspired them, especially John Locke. It's just not that black and white, cut and dry, especially when you have a distinction between public and private. I don't want to get into this, but there's a huge difference between burning a government building or government property in protest and burning a Target. And there's an even bigger difference between those two and burning a fellow citizen's house. Big difference. Anyway. That happens. Target gets burned. AutoZone gets burned. And during this time, and I'm really foggy on whether the police started tear gassing people and shooting people with rubber bullets before the rioting started, that transformed a peaceful protest into rioting, or after. From the live streams I've seen, it seems like the police were instigating it, but I'm not going to be dogmatic about that until I can find like a really direct video of that, which I'm sure is out there. I'm just not seeing it right now, but it doesn't matter for what I want to talk about. Still, the vast majority of these protests across the United States, there's now spread to like 100 different cities and like major cities. Atlanta, Charlotte, Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Denver, Jacksonville, Los Angeles, Miami, New York City, Phoenix, Portland, Oregon, Richmond, Virginia, San Francisco, Seattle, Washington, D.C., Fort Lauderdale. And those are only the big cities, right? It's already spread there within just less than 5 days. But in Minneapolis, they burned down the precinct within, from the 26th to 28th, so less than 2 days. Looting and rioting has started, yes. Vast majority of all these protests across the United States are peaceful. And a lot of people are calling for them to end and saying that they're worthless and unjustified and evil because of the rioting and looting. And that they don't really stand for the death of George Floyd anymore, or whatever it represented, aka Black Lives Matter. And also just, I mean, this isn't just about their deaths. This is about the entire system that holds this type of resistance to change up. but people are, because they're getting messaged so much with these with the rioting aspect and with a negative aspect of that, they're not seeing the evils of the police. And so police start gassing people, police start shooting rubber bullets pretty early on. But the things that are standing out to me the most are that Trump said on the 28th that when you start looting, when looting starts, shooting starts. AKA, I'm able to call on the American military to turn against the people, and I'm going to shoot looters. So he sets that precedent. He makes that known that he's willing to use the military to do that on the 28th. And, I mean, I don't want to be naive about this, but it really seems like about the 28th is when things get really crazy with police brutality. On the 28th, a Minneapolis cop drives by protesters and just like willy-nilly sprays them with pepper spray. And I mean, the police pepper spray is like a bear spray canister. It's that big, and it shoots out that spray with force, and it goes far in a big cloud, and it's really strong too. It's not just like this dinky crap you get, right? He's just driving by these protesters, and they're not doing anything. None of the other cops are doing this. He rolls down a squad car window as he drives by and sprays it in the air at them. That's insane. That's psychopathic. That's evil. There's no reason to do that. That's just inciting violence. So that's on them. Just like these riots would not have happened without George Floyd dying. George Floyd would not have died without Derek Chauvin being an evil asshole. Derek Chauvin would not have been able to get away with being an evil asshole if the police department was structured different, and more directly, if the 3 cop buddies he had were in whatever mentality and had whatever training and support from their police department was required for them to see what he was doing and be like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this, maybe we should pull him off of him, as he's screaming and begging for his mom. As he's saying, I'm gonna die. Like, think about that. I'm gonna die. Please don't kill me. Mom, help me. Please don't let this happen to me. I can't breathe. And the other cops are just like, that's cool, I'll help him. 2 of us will also sit on him. And then the one guy looking around, duh. It's ridiculous. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent again. Like, I'm so unfocused because I'm tired and very angry. I'm sorry. So, the riots won't happen, wouldn't have sparked like this without George Floyd dying. George Floyd dying would not have happened without Derek Chauvin and his cop buddies being an asshole. Derek Chauvin and his cop buddies wouldn't have been assholes and been able to basically murder somebody. No, not basically, but actually murder someone without the government and society and system, and particularly the police, allowing for this sort of thing. Because Chauvin had many, many, many other complaints against him. And people did not hold him accountable, as with so many other cases. So the government is responsible for this, way more than the protesters, because they're so ununified, are responsible for the rioting and looting, and yet we're focusing more on the evils of the rioters and looters and crafting a narrative in our heads to look down on them and hold the government up and say it's justified to squash this rebellion and these protests. So I don't want to do that. I want to show you the evil. So the Minneapolis cop drives by, sprays pepper spray out of his car on the 28th. Disgusting. Okay. By the 29th, Omar Jimenez, CNN journalist, on camera, is arrested because he's presumably black. He's doing his job. He has a CNN badge. He has a camera crew and a mic and a mask. And they know he's press. And he says, I'm press. I'm CNN. A major news network, and they still arrest him, where right nearby his white colleague is doing the same exact thing, and an officer, per his white colleague, says, have a good day, sir. So they have to release him later. Why are they arresting the press? So that's 28th, 29th, already kicking off. Seems like the worst of it starts right after Trump says the looting and shooting comment, which, by the way, is a direct quote from a white supremacist during the civil rights movement, a Miami police chief or sheriff, whatever. It's disgusting. So CNN reporter gets arrested. Also on the 29th, New York City cops, that was all in Minneapolis. New York City cops purposely hit protesters with their cars as they drive by. They're driving by fast, the protesters aren't doing anything, and they open their door a little bit so that if they drive their car into them and they open their door, like the car and door hits them and knocks them down, which obviously if he's knocked down the wrong direction, he might go under the car and get run over. But they do that for no reason. That's also on the 29th, New York City. And then again on the 29th, New York Police Department officer DeAndrea, whatever. I'm pretty sure it's DeAndrea. I don't care. Something Italian. 73rd Police District in New York City. Walking with a bunch of his police buddies down the street, and there's a young girl protesting, very petite, way skinnier, way less powerful than this big cop, and he's a young guy too, and he's like very muscular and built, unlike me, and he walks by and he throws her on the ground and calls her a dumb bitch. Well, it turns out that girl actually fell so bad she hit her head and is seen on this is all on video. Seen on video holding it. She has a seizure, she gets a severe concussion and ends up in the hospital. For no reason. She wasn't doing anything. She was standing away from the cops on the sidewalk. He just picks her up because he's angry. Because at what? I don't know. And throws her and hits her head on the concrete that hard that she has a seizure. Again, New York Police Department officer DeAndrea, whatever. You can see the spelling and the links and everything in the document. So that's the 29th again. Now on the 30th, in Louisville, Kentucky, cops went up to a reporter and camera crew and started firing pepper balls at the reporter. So you got a paintball gun, and instead of paintballs, you load them up with little pellets that are covered in pepper spray, and they hurt really bad. And they start shooting this reporter with a camera crew, with a safety vest, with a CNN badge. They know who she is, right? Just starts pelting her, and she's screaming. And then her boss in there is saying, "What? You're not doing anything wrong. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, you're allowed to be there. What's going on? Why are they shooting at you?" And then the cop turns and looks straight at the cameraman in the lens. And he points his little paintball gun and just starts pelting the cameraman. Like over and over and over again. Up close, he knows exactly what's happening. And there's like 50 cops in riot gear behind him watching, not doing anything. So again, assaulting the press for literally no reason on the 30th in Louisville, Kentucky. Then it's filmed in a live stream in San Jose, California on the 30th as well, which is, the day preceding this 3 o'clock in the morning video I'm making. It's filmed of a cop in California dancing around like a little asshole, happy and excited that he's gonna get to mess people up. He literally at one point smiles and licks his lips as if he's about to devour some delicious food. The blood of protesters, the blood of some young black man that he just hates so much. It's disgusting. It's like actually what you would think a Jared Leto Joker would be like if he was even more over the top and ugly and evil. So that's happens in San Jose on the 30th, clearly showing that a lot of these riot police are not mentally well. And are very aggressive. Then New York Police Department on the 30th this evening. I'm not sure. The timestamp says 7:50 p.m., but that might be wrong. But sometime around, this last evening, May 30th, New York Police Department, one of their squad cars was getting blocked on a road by protesters with a barricade, and with one of those little plastic barricades that police set up. And the cop, instead of just reversing and going another way, instead of just giving up, because keep in mind, these cops can step down and quit. They do not have to do this. They're not on a contract with the military. They can leave. They do not have to do this. They don't have to be cops. They don't have to take the side of power. Or if they want to stay cops, they can police and make sure that their own people aren't fucking up protesters. Anyway, the cop backs up a little bit and he just gasses it straight into a crowd of hundreds of protesters. Strange parallel to Charlottesville, 2017. Strange parallel of a far right-wing protest, the neo-Nazi and KKK protests, and then one of those nut jobs driving a car into a crowd of people and killing people. But yeah, the police are doing that now, so I guess the police are like that. That was the one that really disturbed me, because there's multiple camera angles, and it's really like, man, that guy was actually intending to hit some people. Then, oh, also, God, I can't believe how many things are happening right now. May 30th, Huffington Post reporter Chris Mathias captured by New York PD. No one knows where he is, last I checked. Let me just check for a quick update real quick. Oh, thank God. He was just released around 1 a.m. So he was just released really recently. But anyway, he wasn't really doing anything. You know, they knew he was press. He was there all day filming and working, and they arrested him. And for a while, his colleagues were tweeting out, and Huffington Post was tweeting out, "We're really scared and concerned. We do not know where he is. No one has told us anything. The police are just arresting journalists and people to try to break up these protests. And we don't know anything, so anything could happen, you know?" Very worried about him. That's insane. Especially, I mean, the press has a status of observing protests but not being in them. That's the idea. And if you don't have that, then you don't have press at the protest. Then you can't keep police accountable. Then your freedom is gone, buddy. It's gone. So they're arresting journalists. They already did it, you know, on the 28th with a CNN reporter. They're already shooting him with pepper guns in Minneapolis. So why doesn't, you know, New York Police Department join in, arrest Chris Mathias, maybe to scare him? And then at the same time, the police are chasing these people down the streets. They're now aggressively going after groups of protesters, not because the protesters are looting, but to try to disperse them. Like, it's all on video, all on live stream. You can find it, like, easily. And I've got links to these videos. Anyway, Vice correspondent Michael Anthony Adams recorded videos him running from cops, and because they're press and trust the cops and are like, we gotta run from them because they don't want them to hurt us, but when it comes down to it, we can say we're press and get out of it. And they're hiding in a gas station from the cops, filming. The press are filming, hiding from the cops like we live in a police state, which I guess we do. And the cops come in and he's filming all this and they raid it. They raid the gas station and they're all saying press, like press, we're just the press. And they knock him to the ground, they pepper spray him, they point their riot guns at him. And they also have real guns. And they start to arrest him for no reason. For literally no reason. They are suppressing the media. So that just happened a little while ago. Link in the document in the description. Again, I'm just updating things as I go to not forget, but also really hard to have all this organic information coming in on social media, not even through the mainstream media, but through social media as the primary source of news now, and live streaming and actually on the ground footage. It's hard to synthesize that from like so many sources into a coherent memory. And that's what I'm trying to do for people. Because I want to eliminate the excuse. I'm not trying to help you. in a way I am. I want you to, be on the right side for, the purpose of that. But also, so there's no excuse for me or for you. I want you to be forced to remember what the government is doing. And to understand why the riots, even though they're not perfect, are overall deserve our sympathy and our support. So they're suppressing the media. Unicorn Riot, who's also, they're like a major live streamer. They're like an independent journalists association. And they've been live streaming since the very beginning. Some of the best footage, honestly. And just a little while ago, they were filming a group of like 6 cops really roughly arresting a black young man who was just sitting on the sidewalk during the protests, and arresting him very roughly, very roughly. He was not resisting. They did not need to do that. And when Unicorn Riot comes up and films, the cops start hitting him with a baton. And then Unicorn Riot says, I'm press. I am a journalist. I'm an independent journalist. And it says, I don't care. The cop says, I don't care what you are. Get out of here. So they won't let the media film them arresting someone. And they start hitting his camera and hitting him with the baton. That just happened a little while ago on May 30th. So, all that together, let me read really quick. May 28th. Trump echoes the sentiment that a lot of people in this nation feel. Looting causes shooting. Not it's a conscious choice to shoot people and make a value judgment that looting Target or these stores is such a sin, is such a wrong that we should shoot you. But looting is the cause of shooting. We're just going to shoot you if you loot. It's inevitable. On that same day, Minneapolis cop drives by protesters wildly spraying pepper spray. 28th. Also the 29th, CNN journalist arrested for no reason on video. Also the 29th, New York City cops driving by trying to hit people with their cars. Also on the 29th, a guy gives a girl, big cop, totally unjustified, gives a girl traumatic brain injury and a seizure for no reason. The 30th, Louisville, Kentucky, cops go up to a reporter and a camera crew and start firing pepper balls at them, riot control guns at them. Also May 30th, it is shown clearly the mentality of a lot of these cops, I think. San Jose, California, a cop showed dancing and ready to screw some protesters up. Also on the 30th, God, the 30th sucks. New York Police Department slams car into crowd of protesters, drives into them like Charlottesville. Although I will say, I don't think anyone died. Not as bad. It is still a really gross, just analog and very symbolic. Also 30th, Chris Matthews captured by New York PD as they chase people in the streets for no reason. Chasing down reporters like this, there's absolutely no argument to be made. When they certainly know their press. We know that. Why are they chasing them through the streets? Also on the 30th, Vice reporter gets chased and apprehended for just reporting in a gas station as they hide from the cops. And the last thing was just that another journalist starts getting hit with batons by cops as they try to film someone getting roughly arrested. It's a lot. And that's this much. That is just what I've seen as one person, and I can't forget that. And I'm going to look for more. But that's just that much. And it's all in the document I'm linking. So, again, I'm going to verify this. How many have died in riots. Yeah, from everything I've seen, there's only 2 deaths, and they're not even caused by protesters. Like, the first death is a 19-year-old boy who got shot in basically a drive-by. It's not part of the protests. So according to NPR, looking at their list of deaths, of course there might be more injuries that are going to lead to deaths. We don't know. It's so complicated and so messy. But so far, only 1 death that was really like had anything to do with the protest. But even this article is even vague about those circumstances. It's really, I can't find anything on those at all. It's really, anyway, it doesn't matter. Even if there are 2 deaths, that's insane. These are all over the United States. Tens of thousands of people protesting and rioting. Like, tens of thousands of people protesting, certain proportion of that rioting, certain proportion of that justifiably rioting, certain proportion unjustifiably rioting. I think that unjustifiable part is pretty low. But even if the 2 deaths, that's a really peaceful protest. Extremely peaceful. Tragic? Yeah. A sin that they died? A mortal sin? Yeah. But who are you going to blame? I'm not going to keep blaming. I'm not going to let myself remember this as the protests are to blame for that. Because without the government, again, there would be no protests. And without the police making this all worse, there probably would not be as much violence. So the more people die, I really do blame the government and police for that. You can see my blog post for like more eloquent, less 3 o'clock in the morning tired reasons why. 2 dead, pretty peaceful. I guess I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but this is sort of like a live stream. I just can't live stream yet, so I don't really care. But I think what I'm trying to get at, and what I was just trying to get at a minute ago, was that this is a small amount of what we're seeing. This is a small amount of what's on video. Not imagine all the videos that the cops are arresting people for taking. Or if they're not doing that, they're arresting people that they know are filming. Arresting people and throwing their phones to the ground. Or just, I've seen one video of a cop slaps a guy really aggressively, his phone out of his hands while he's filming him, and it breaks on the ground. How much videos are we losing? How much videos are out there on Twitter live streamed and I can't see them because I only have one set of eyes and one brain? So just all of that happening in such a short period is insane. It's psychopathic. These police are acting psychopathic. And I want us to remember this. I will not let you or me forget that the primary blame lies with the government and the police, not with the majority of these protesters. And I do not even know I don't know the details. We probably never will know exactly who is responsible for burning which thing, right? It's messy. The last thing is close to me. Oklahoma City. They are reporting repeatedly that the protests were very peaceful, and the police guaranteed people nothing bad's gonna happen. This is gonna be peaceful. You can do what you want. Oh wow, there's been some updates recently. You can do what you want as long as you don't touch any officers. And then KOCO, the local news station, which is not liberal media by any means, said all of a sudden, like shortly after, about a little under an hour or so after they gave that guarantee that they could assemble, they set a curfew and they started tear gassing people. Once they started tear gassing people, the response was to burn a police car. No one got hurt, to my knowledge, in that. But, yeah, and then, I mean, this is crazy. The protests here just started, and they're already tear gassing people. Not just using rubber bullets, but tear gassing people. And they didn't do it once, they did it twice, and then they just did it again at 12:30 a.m. So, 3 hours ago. I was watching those videos. I was seeing those pictures live. That did not deserve tear gas. And that car burning, that's in response to the tear gas. That's in the news report. That's on the video. Then they gassed them again, and they gassed them again. Tear gas is serious stuff. If you've ever gotten pepper spray in your eye, okay, that is hell. Tear gas is worse. Tear gas is gas. You need a gas mask. Do not breathe it in. You choke. You cannot move. Once it fills your lungs, you feel like you're dying. You feel like you're choking to death. And your eyes tear up and you can't see. And they did it 3 times for a protest that was not getting out of hand. They incited it. And I have friends of friends. I have friends going down there. But I have friends of friends who are getting arrested. The police are saying that, and I linked to this in the document, the police are saying that they're arresting just like 13 people or so who were getting unruly. No way. They're arresting like an older man. They're arresting people that are friends of my friends who are in the church, who are people who build communities and who are respectable, loving, kind people. And it's all on video. And they're trying to pool money for their bail right now. But the police in Oklahoma, right next to me, are gassing their own citizens immediately for no reason, to try to get rid of them, to disperse them, and then gas them 2 more god dang times. I just, tear gas is a military weapon. Tear gas is a serious chemical warfare tool. Yeah, it's non-lethal unless maybe you have a respiratory problem, which, hey, we're in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic, which is upper respiratory problem, but gassed their own people 3 times. 3 times. 3 times in the matter of like 3 hours. God. My God. My God. Don't forget this. And I'm going to, as I see more things in live streams, like, don't forget. God have mercy on us. God save us. God give us wisdom. I don't know what to do, but it seems like the police want to start a war. And I don't know what any of us should do. But I pray that goodness and beauty itself, which is God, reaches down to us and helps us and saves us and brings peace. And I think most importantly makes these cops love peace and love beauty and love goodness, and make these protesters love peace and love beauty and love goodness. And I'm plenty already do, but this is, nothing is going to change, and the ways of changing are a moral revolution or a bloody revolution. A moral revolution can be achieved peacefully. It can. It really can. But it involves a bunch of people actually doing the right things and loving the good and the beautiful. And coming together over that. If people don't choose to do that, and I'm talking 99% to the cops and government and political leaders and people taking their sides, if you don't choose to do that and come to the right side, then when you incite things, you're only inciting a bloody revolution, because it's the only choice other people have. I do not want a bloody revolution. I do not want to fight you. I do not want to kill my family and my friends. I do not want to even be against them in any sort of emotional conflict. Why are you stoking that? Why are you trying to cause that? And why aren't more people calling you out